Marc D'Amico now, Celtics reporter and analyst, joins us on Big Board Sports 104.5 at Team ESPN Radio. Marc, good morning. Roger Weiland and Chris Honorado, how are you?
What's up, guys?
Hey, Marc.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, Marc. Thanks for a few minutes. You wrote a piece yesterday, Celtics.com, that even when the series is tied at 2-2, it's Boston that owns the greatest advantage. You really believe that tonight?
Well, when I see 9-0 at home during the postseason, I certainly think that's the biggest advantage Boston can have. You know, you guys were just talking about how role players play better at home, and Boston's entire team is made of role players, if you really think about it. I mean, none of these guys are scoring 25-plus points per game. No one's going off like LeBron James, right? Everyone on this team is balanced. Everyone's scoring between 10 and 20 points every night. You need balance, and all of these guys have played better at home. So my expectation is that that's what's going to happen again tonight. Now, does that guarantee a win? Absolutely not. You've got LeBron James on the other side of the ball, but we'll see what happens when the ball goes up. But 9-0 at home, I'll take those odds.
What adjustments, or is it just a matter of a different climate, or what adjustments does Boston have to make after what you saw in the two games in Cleveland?
Well, Game 3 was a rough one for Boston. Obviously, that was a massive struggle from start to finish. Game 4, I think, was a little bit masked by the result. I think a lot of people think that the Celtics didn't play very well, but really they did. I mean, they outscored Cleveland during the second, the third, and the fourth quarter. So they won 3 out of the fourth quarters, but they finished the end of the first quarter and the end of the third quarter in very poor fashion. That's what kind of didn't give them a chance to grab that win. They cut the lead down to 8 at the end of the third quarter, 8 or 9, and then Cleveland finishes the final 2 minutes on a 7-2 run, bumps it back up to 14. So I really don't think that the Celtics played that poorly on the road. They shot it poorly, that's for sure, and a lot of that came at the rim. They had 15 missed shots at the rim. 15 out of their 50 misses were right at the rim.
Wow.
So I don't expect that to happen again tonight. But really, I think, you look at the raw numbers and you only think that the Celtics didn't play well, but you really dig into it and you see that they outscored Cleveland during the final 3 quarters of the game. They really didn't play that poorly, especially for a road game.
Marc D'Amico with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio. Check him out on Twitter, Marc_D'Amico, Celtics reporter and analyst. And Roger, you won't believe this, but another guest who is an Ithaca Bomber.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. If you go back through our shows.
Bombers are everywhere.
If you go back through our shows, Marc, since Chris has been producing, and you look at our guest lineup, they all have that tie.
Yeah.
Just about all of them.
Yeah, we try to keep a percentage better than 50-50, exactly. Marc,
clearly you're putting together the right type of show.
You know it, man. At the start of the series, I said Cleveland in 6. Then the Celtics won the first 2 games, and I thought, maybe Boston in 6, because I feel like they're going to steal 1 in Cleveland. They didn't. We're not at up 2-2. Are you surprised in any way at how this series has gone, that home court has held, despite Boston winning the first 2, that Cleveland still goes back home and gets 2?
I think the biggest surprise that I've had in the series is that LeBron James recorded a 42-point triple-double on the road, and Boston still won by 13. That's the biggest surprise to me in the entire series so far. But am I surprised that it's 2-2? No, not really. I mean, Cleveland's been an incredibly inconsistent team all season long, and particularly since they made the trade at the beginning of February. They've struggled. They've been up and down. Yes, they had a great series against Toronto, but really you don't know what you're going to get from their role players every single game. Kyle Korver is pretty consistent. That guy shoots the ball as well as anyone in the history of the NBA. But J.R. Smith has dropped off the cliff over the last couple of years. You just don't know what you're going to get from him. And the rest of the guys are unproven as well. So LeBron James is a known quantity. You know he's going to give you somewhere around a triple-double with 30 points every single game. But those other guys, you just don't know. And that's why, no, I'm not really surprised. And then you look at the Celtics team that needed 7 games to get out of the first round. So can anyone be surprised that they dropped a couple games on the road? No, not really. So, it's crazy that everyone's talked about how non-competitive the conference finals have been on both sides of the both conferences, but both series are at 2-2.
Marc, with all the losses and injuries that Boston has had, how surprised are you that they're even in this position to get to an NBA Finals, considering they've lost some pretty big-name players, and here they are, still with a chance? Yeah,
that's the bigger question, right? How surprised is everyone that the Celtics are where they are It's kind of crazy. Entering the playoffs, I said that the Eastern Conference, I looked at every single series, and we're talking about starting in the first round and moving on to the conference finals. I felt like it was a coin flip for every single series, no matter who played who. Everyone was capable of beating the other team. And we saw that. I mean, you can't tell me that you didn't think that Washington had a chance to beat Toronto in the first round, right? That's the 8 seed versus the 1 seed. Every team in the East had a chance to beat the other in every series that was played. So the Celtics survived Game 7 against Milwaukee. They somehow got out of that series. They played far better than Philadelphia in the second round. And now you're running into a Cleveland team that's been inconsistent. If you asked me at the beginning of the year, hey, you're going to lose Kyrie Irving, you're going to lose Gordon Hayward, can you still get to the conference finals? I would have said absolutely not. So, yes, that does surprise me in the long run. But when you look at how, I'd say, evenly matched in the parity there is in the Eastern Conference, that doesn't surprise me as much. But, yeah, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Terry Rozier stepping in for Kyrie Irving have been exceptional. And I think they've opened a lot of eyes around the league.
No doubt they have. So what happens tonight? How do you see this game tonight unfolding at the TD Garden?
I think it's going to be a lot like what we saw last night in Game 4 in Golden State. Competitive game going down to the final minute, and it all comes down to which team makes the bigger plays in crunch time. That's a little bit of a scary proposition when you're the Boston Celtics and you've got the best player in the world on the other side of the ball, especially with those premier shooters around him. But the Celtics have bounced back all season long, and I'm not saying this as a homer attitude. Every time they've faced adversity throughout the entire season, they've responded. No one thought that they had a chance in Game 4. They gave Cleveland a run. No one thought that they would beat Philadelphia in round 2. They did it, and here they are, 2-2 with home court advantage, 2 out of the final 3 being played at TD Garden. I think they've got a great shot. But again, LeBron James, he's the king. You never know what's going to happen with him.
So Boston gets this one tonight. Cleveland goes back and gets Game 6, and then we're talking to Game 7.
Let's hope.
Hey, if we go to Game 7 with LeBron James in the building, I'll tell you, TD Garden's going to be rocking on Sunday.
So is it more of
you guys might feel it in Albany.
Hey, Mark, is Boston more of a Celtic city or a Bruins city, or what's the sport? Like right now, obviously everything is on Celtics, but the Bruins are huge there too, right?
Yeah, no, they are. I mean, it's really interesting with the two sports going on at the same time. It's kind of like there's a faction of the city that is, hockey town, and then there's a faction of the city that is Celtics town. I think they've each got a very dedicated fan base. But in the long run, whichever team's playing, that's the team that's getting supported, and right now that's the guys in green.
And then you got the
by the way, the Red Sox
and the Boston Red Sox are in first place, right? You know, yeah. I mean, there's no shortage of great sports in that city of Boston. I love it. Mark, thank you for a few minutes. We appreciate it. We'll see how Game 5 unfolds tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mark.
That's Mark D'Amico, Celtics reporter and analyst from Ithaca.
That's right.
Ithaca grad in there.
No, man.
Love it.